Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Altitude Film Room. I'm Rob Trujillo. He's Coach Mike Sanford. And unfortunately, it's over.
Yeah, is it, Rob?
I mean, are you going to come back from the dead? Broncos lose their...
No, I'm talking about for you, man. I'm talking about for you. Is it over? As the president of the Bills Backer organization of Denver, or is it really over?
I am a president for that, and we will have another game next week.
And a native of Buffalo, born in 5 years, raised.
Didn't want to do it at the expense of y'all. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, you were classy. You chose class instead of violence over the course of the majority of. Even during the game, you didn't text me.
No.
How was the before? How was
into the pregame show? I thought about it. I just
didn't to. Yeah, and I guess with me, it's different because I'm not born and raised a Bronco fan. Although I've kind of thrown myself into it pretty hard, as I typically do with the moves that I've made and going into new sports communities. But let's do it before we jump into some X's and O's and some film. I just kind of give me a little bit of the vibe about the Bills Backer at Stoney's Uptown. What was the vibe for the Bills Backer viewing party?
The vibe was excellent. Of course, you had a couple people who didn't know that it was a Bills bar.
Okay.
So orange-clad Bronco fans coming in, just trying to find a bar to sit and watch the game all together.
Yeah.
And they found out very quickly that it was they were surrounded by Bills fans. And a couple of them, after the plays that we're about to go over, got a little blustery, a little excited. And I just told him I felt like it was a little bit early for a victory lap, but by the end of the game,
was it generally speaking good, clean fun? Like good, clean fun generally?
That's the thing. Everybody, we went back and forth at each other, gave each other a little bit of a hard time. But that's what sports is about, right?
No fist fights.
Tribes. No fist fights. No, nothing like that. You get your little tribes and you get to cheer. And my tribe's a little bit further along than yours, but that's all right,
Yeah.
So it was an interesting mix of Bronco and Bills fans, but we had fun.
I'm going to go with the experience that we had at number 38 at the Altitude. We did the pregame show with D-Mac and myself and Alex Ryanemi. It's a lot of fun. It was, I don't know, I'm going to say 500-700 people were there. Obviously, it's number 38. It's a humongous River North establishment. So it wasn't just there to see D-Mac and me spew hot gas before.
It was just for you guys. We know it.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't that. But, man, I'll tell you, when we're gonna watch the opening drive, particularly the third down conversion that Bo Nix had. And then the touchdown to Troy Franklin and break those two plays down. But, the vibe at number 38 after that first drive, woo! Yeah. You would have thought that John Elway was back and, this is the return of the Denver Broncos. I mean, it was as sky high and mile high, if you will, as you'll ever find an environment.
And I thought we did pretty good during our preview, pointing out some things that did come to fruition in the game. But one thing I didn't say to you is I have a rule with my friends at the table that we sit at, and it's we don't freak out about first drive touchdowns. Because for some reason, the Buffalo Bills always give up first drive touchdowns. And then they make some adjustments, and they're fine, and everything's fine. And so we literally have that rule at our table. We say it to each other every game. Because it feels like it's every game it happens like that.
Right.
I should have mentioned it in the pre-show, but yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's plenty of reason to be excited about these Broncos, but now that you put them up against a team that is a Super Bowl caliber team, will they make it there? Who knows? Going through the AFC, coach, nowadays, you're going to have to go through at least one team like this, if not two or three, to get to a Super Bowl. And, I know D-Mac's loud on the station saying, 3 years, 3 years, I want to see them in the fight for a Super Bowl kind of thing. I'd love to talk about what you think they need to do to get there. Because it's going to be an uphill battle with the quarterbacks that are in the AFC.
Boy, man, it is a murderer's row right now in quarterback play, particularly in the AFC. And it's not old. None of it is. I mean, is Patrick Mahomes the oldest relevant AFC quarterback?
Yeah, I think so. 29.
I mean, geez.
Yeah. He's 29. Allen.
Burrow's what, 26?
27, I think.
27?
Because he transferred.
Allen's 28?
Allen's 28 and Lamar's 28. And then
Who
you
else
got
you got?
Herbert, who's
Herbert.
I mean,
Herbert's how old is Herbert?
younger than that. He was the
26?
class. Yeah, I
27?
mean, he's 5 years into the league. You got Tua if you want him. You got Trevor Lawrence if you want
Drake
him.
May's coming.
Right? Like, so if you're gonna get through in the AFC, you really got to build a stud of a team, and you're gonna have to rely on your quarterback a lot too. So
I think this, man, my biggest takeaway, and we'll get into this opening drive here in just a second, but the biggest contrast I felt between the Bills and the Broncos was a program/franchise commitment to being the bully, to running the football. And that's where that was my biggest fear. That's what I asked for on the airwaves. Even in the preview that you and I talked about, is that Bo Nix is a high volume drop back passer. It just was. It's not there. I don't know if it ever will be there. And watching what your offensive coordinator, being the Bills side, watching what he did in resisting the temptation at home when you have a quarterback that's worthy of an MVP in his current state and how he's playing, he resisted the urge to make this into a throwing game. Instead, it was 26 total pass attempts to 44 run attempts. And those body blows and the control of the game, they ended up opening up Pandora's box when it counted in the, deep into the third, into the fourth quarter. And that's what ultimately won this game, was just the balance and commitment. And frankly, was the creativity. I don't know if you saw this, that 22% of the Bills snaps against the Denver Broncos offensively, they were in 6 or 7 offensive line sets. They got big, and they got a little medieval on the Broncos. Yeah. And you could see that they were moving what is a bit of a more active, slightly undersized front that the Broncos have. A lot of really active players that can go sack the quarterback, but that to me was something I didn't fully anticipate. It was the third most that the Bills had used jumbo personnel on the season. And then the other thing that was interesting is that of those 16 snaps that Joe Brady called in jumbo personnel, meaning 6 or more offensive linemen, 12 of them were runs. And then of those 12 runs, 10 of those runs were to the direction of the jumbo offensive linemen. So they literally ran behind the large mass of humanity. And
they're not regular sized offensive linemen either. They're big.
You were right about that too.
The Bills' offensive line is huge. And they've, unlike most, well, I guess it's more common now than it was 5 years ago even, but they also have a fullback, and you guys got introduced to Reggie Gilliam. Sludgy was in there. He was making blocks. So even if they didn't have an extra offensive lineman, sometimes they were with a fullback. Sometimes they were with an extra tight end, Quentin Morris. All those guys are blocking capable. And then you have their wide receivers blocking too. Mac Hollins is not afraid to go in there and dig out a safety. So it's an interesting question about the Broncos defensive front going forward, because there are 2 guys there. One already got a contract. The other one, price tag's going up on, but your 2 outside linebackers are a little bit undersized, but incredible when it comes to pass coverage and sacking the quarterback.
Right.
And so you got to talk about how you're going to weigh that when you have physical fronts like the Bills.
Yep. Yeah, it's the guy that I think could have been used more multiply. That's not a word, in a multiple manner to play bump from inside to outside to deal with jumbo packages is Zach Allen, because he is your jack of all trades type guy. When you've been to practice, you've seen Jonathan Cooper, as twitchy and as active as he appears. That's a big, thick, close side defensive end. Now, I don't know if he consistently plays that way, but Nick Bonito is a lighter, more of an athletic, twitchy, bend the edge type of an outside backer. But Jonathan Cooper, I thought a big reason he stayed over, some of their edge players of the past 2 years was because he can be a close side defensive end. Now, is he a close side defensive end when you're playing against a 330-pound extra offensive lineman? That's a different story. That's not a normal task for just about anybody. Zach Allen can play that role. You could get I've seen defensive linemen match personnel, and now you would have had potentially like Malcolm Roach playing over a closed defensive end, you know, and then you have Jonathan Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, and say DJ Jones playing in a 4-down front. But they didn't have that answer.
And in that situation, then you're attacking that linebacker with a tight end or something and calling a play action, aren't you, Coach? I mean, isn't that your dream, that they bring in somebody to replace Jonathan Cooper, and then you can use your slot receiver or your tight ends or your running back out of the backfield to attack the middle of the field?
Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to our conversation yesterday in the morning sprint. We got Chuck Pagano came on and gave like a breakdown of the Broncos defense versus the Bills. He didn't actually mention the jumbo as much. That came my study of next gen stats in the film study. But what he did say is that there was a lot of design to do exactly what you're talking about, was using Kincaid and Knox in pass coverage and really ask Cody Barton and Justin Strnad to cover those two players. And those two guys are lesser cover players. You know, they're just, they've been more plug fit downhill linebackers and pressure guys, blitz guys, more than they've been true cover players.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the length of the tight end position, it created some problems for both Barton and Strnad, I think.
And I think if you're talking about places to upgrade the Broncos defense, Strnad's the first place that you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was forced into
but he's more of a special teams guy.
Yeah, no question.
A specialized role on the defense than an every down player. So that, you know, from a middle linebacker spot, I think that's the type of person that you can say we can upgrade there and maybe make a big difference in a run game against a big set.
Yeah. Well, let's go to some, I guess, some more positive times in Broncos country lore here, which would be the first third down conversion of the day for Bo Nix. And this is a great test, you know, for a rookie quarterback on the road. And this goes back to a lot of the intangibles that I see in this rookie quarterback and Bo Nix here as a guy that just the moment didn't look too big for him from just a feel perspective. I think the moment was maybe a little big for him from a just maybe didn't have what it took physically to slay the dragon, right? But he didn't look scared.
I agree with you. I thought his poise was great. I mean, especially this first drive, but throughout all the scrambling that he did, picking up first downs with his legs, so on and so forth, the entire day, I thought he acquitted himself pretty well. Maybe he needs more answers. Maybe he needs more weapons, but I thought he did a pretty good job of keeping a level head.
Yeah, no question. Okay, so we'll start here with this 3rd down and 8. And so you can see Bo Nix sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up from the Buffalo Bills defensive front. And so with essentially this look, you end up having the interior 3 is covered. The center and both guards are covered by 2 down linemen. And then what's this guy's number 43? Is that Milano?
No, that's Bernard.
58 is the Milano, right?
Yep.
So I think Bo Nix was going to slide his offensive line to deal with these 3 bigs right here. And so what he ends up calling Javonte Williams in is to be in what I would call the sniffer. So instead of being lined up deep in the backfield, he comes up and is ready. If there is, you know, say in this, Bernard is a B gap immediate blitzer, that Javonte Williams is taking away that space, and you don't get shortened in right in the quarterback's lap on the drop back. So there's Javonte in position to be the sniffer. It's exactly what happens, right? So Bernard comes. It's a good protection check right there from Bo Nix. Ends up kind of getting a full slide. So you get Quinn Miners from right guard over to left tackle. You get a 4 for 3 for these 3 down linemen. They end up twisting off of it. Protection's fantastic. Number 40, who's that again? That's our guy, Vaughn, right?
Yeah, I was going to say you've heard of him once or twice.
Yeah, Von Miller. So he's kind of dog walking McGlinchey a little bit. McGlinchey does a nice job, just enough. But you can see right here, Bo Nix really good in his 5-step gun timing, gets to the top of his drop, and really good footwork, base. And all you have here is what I'd call just your very standard. I like this is a dig concept and then a pivot with a whip out option right there from Lucas Kroll. Marvin Mims, his responsibility is to run a deep crossing route. You got the post route on the opposite side right there by Troy Franklin. And the timing of this throw was phenomenal from Bo Nix on 3rd down and 8. I love this. So you can see he's already cocked and ready to fire the football. And you could see that this is a cheese route from Lucas Kroll. He's sitting in that underneath intermediate kind of middle hook area, about 6 yards past the line of scrimmage. And he's trying to set the trap. It's kind of like a mouse trap. Like, hey, sniff that cheese. And you can see the linebacker, the nickel right there, number 7. Go ahead and pull out right there. And then the throw, ball explodes. And then Cortland Sutton does the rest right there. That's a big third down conversion, but also, I mean, you're getting a chunk gain right there. And I like what I saw.
I thought, and the protection I thought was a little bit questionable all day, but I thought pretty good there, Coach. I mean, mostly a clean pocket. McGlinchey resets, even though he was getting driven backwards. I don't know. I mean, it against the 5-man pressure, I think you got to feel good about that pocket, right?
Yeah, you feel very good about it. You know what's interesting? Remember you and I talked about McDermott. One of his staples as a defensive mind is confusing quarterbacks with coverages. This is another prime example. Actually, both of these early, I mean, frankly, they're about the only successful plays of the day for the Broncos that I'm showing you in reality. And I'll get into that, the actual numbers behind what I'm saying there. But from a quarterback's perspective, this looks like traditional 2 deep safeties and then a pre-aligned Tampa backer. So, which is usually in 2 Tampa, deep half, and then Tampa, usually it's an inside backer that sprints down the middle of the field. So when you pre-align this and you have 2 corners that are playing cloud, that's what this is a pre-snap to Tampa look.
So pre-snap, what would be your read here, Coach?
Well, you'd probably go to the same spot with the football. You would love this concept. Basically a dig. I call this Squire. But you have Squire, which is a Z deep dig. Actually, this ends up being the slot dig with the pivot route coming from outside. You would actually like the same area. You just have to be aware of that Tampa dropper in that dig window. So that's the only thing. So this would be an example of like maybe confusing Bo, but actually going from one coverage, which 228 Tampa, to another coverage, which is really just 3 deep, 3 under, and it's a 5-man pressure. It's a 3 fire zone. And really the cheese concept is good versus both. It's a good universal. So it really didn't do the disguise did jack squat in this, the luck of the draw of the concept you had on. It would be my answer there.
But still, I mean, regardless, him recognizing it ahead of time and hitting that throw, I mean, the ball's out of his hand. Beautiful timing, and I think you mentioned that before, but I mean, Cortland's barely turned around, and that ball's turning and already on its way to him.
For sure. Yeah, ball explodes at a really good time. Okay, so watching it from the end zone here as so you can see Bo, that's that protection we're talking about. You know, one thing for McGlinchey right there, I'd like to see him throw hands a little bit earlier, kind of catches. And Von Miller gets his meat hooks right in the inside of that 6 and 9. Instead of punching and making sure that you slow down the blow you're about to absorb, which I think actually, if you look at GB, does a pretty good job of punching. See that he gets hands established. And because of that, there's width to the pocket and does a nice job of reset and reestablishing.
And Minor's sliding to the left side like that, to the offense's left side like that. He's looking for that stunt, right? He's looking
100%. Yeah, so you could see, I mean, a lot of times, you know, like I said, this is a bear look. It's a bear pressure front. When you get 3 of your bigs, 1, 2, 3, your true known like rushers and down linemen, all to one side, and then you have maybe 2 skinnies opposite. These guys are trying to get singled up for one-on-ones, and these 3 are trying to run pick stunts. So by sending 1, 2, 3, 4 to that 1, 2, 3, and then really you're saying, you know what? I trust Javonte Williams one-on-one, and I trust Mike McGlinchey one-on-one there versus Vaughn.
Let's have a conversation about that real quick too, because that's something that was a Samaj P. Ryan special in the past, where you trusted him in pass blocking when it came to protecting your quarterback. They let him go because they felt confident that Javonte Williams could handle that role, and has absolutely exploded into it. He's done a great job
pass
blocking back this year.
Very good.
But he's a free agent, and you might let him go.
Right.
Is it worth bringing him back because you trust him enough? I mean, that's one-on-one with a very good linebacker coming on a blitz, and you stone cold called that and just let him block it out.
Yeah, I mean, God, that's a good question, Rob. And I think a lot of it's going to have to do with what's the desire, what are the desires of Javonte Williams, and also probably what's the reality check of both he and his management team to think, am I attempting to be a bell cow, back somewhere in the NFL again, or am I pretty good with this role? If I were to go off his body language throughout the course of this year and kind of going into it, having been a fairly high drafted running back that was the starter at various times in the last 3-4 years of his career, man, I thought he handled the new assignment really well. So if he's willing to take to know what he has in Denver and be their third down pass protection specialist, and then be a bonus player of depth, say when Ashton Genty or hopefully whoever big time running back you acquire via the draft, is either going through their growing pains or is banged up in a game, and he could be a guy that could go in and play. Yeah, he does have value. He's got to understand, and his representation's got to understand they're not going to overpay for just a third down protector.
Sure.
So that second contract won't be what the ideal second contract would have been, but also Javonte Williams understands he's had injury problems, unfortunately. So it does affect your second contract.
Even if it's just another year doing that, it is guaranteed snaps.
Right.
And so even if you just sign a 1-year deal in hopes that maybe the year after you can look a little bit fresher, a little bit more bounce in the step after another year away from that knee injury, it's guaranteed snaps because I think they really do trust him, and you could see that here.
Yeah. All right. So back to this. Did you see Bo Nix right there with the clap, the frantic clap?
Snap. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of those things. So when you're using a silent count, you have all these great plans of how the different clap cadence is going to work. Sometimes, it's based off of, it's one clap, and then everybody, hears that. And then the right guard is in this case is Quinn Miners is looking up, and he goes, has said go, and he head bobs and then goes. Sometimes it's just literally off the sound of one clap. But what Bo Nix is doing, this is kind of a universal thing. It started with a lot of these no huddle shotgun offenses, is when you're at the very end of the shot clock, the 40-second clock is expiring, and the quarterback you just start clapping relentlessly. And that's telling the center, I stop freaking communicating, stop calling whatever slide that you're going to be calling, and give me the football. And that's exactly what Bo Nix is doing here.
Gets it off in time, though, and a big pickup on third down and what was it, 8, Coach?
Third and 8, yep. Third and 8.
It's not even third and short or medium. I mean, you're getting into third and long there.
Yeah, so that's like one of those where you're staring down the barrel immediately. You're staring down the barrel of a big situation right away, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's
not only that, Coach, but you get the ball first here, which means you're on the field before Josh Allen. You don't want to go 3 and out and punt the ball to him and put your team behind the 8 ball. You want to get points on this first drive. I mean, it's a huge pickup and a big moment, I think, which led to this.
So one of the things that was interesting is this opening drive from with Bo Nix and then from Sean Payton. It did end up taking on a bit of a lifeblood of tempo, which you didn't see much the rest of the day, which was interesting. So this was a fast tempo. Outside zone call with the Marvin Mims. Actually, it's not Marvin Mims. The Troy Franklin kind of bunch bubble, which Bo Nix read it well. He should not have thrown that. He does not have the numbers advantage to throw that. And then you see Javonte Williams looking physical. Hey, when you just ripped off third down and 8, and then you tempo into an outside zone on the very next play, and you get 4, 5, 6 yards, like you're loving your start to the game. And so, yeah, I mean, I love the way this thing started out. You can see it looks like Milano's a little bit out of gap here. They have no B gap run fit player right here. I guess you could say your defensive end there kind of wrong. He kind of wrong shoulders it. There's DeMar Hamlin, who shows up late. But yeah, it's a weird. That tempo probably could have been a little bit more beneficial because for whatever reason, it appears that the Bills were a little bit little bit fraudulent in their gap or understanding here in this particular snap.
Yeah, and it's something they have trouble on first drives, even fitting run. It's been something that they've had a problem with all year, and then they seem to get it sorted out on the sideline as you go through a game. So it's interesting to note that you had them on the heels a little bit here, and then you call a shot play, coach. I mean, is that a play caller move? You see them maybe on their heels a little bit?
Well, so the other thing that's interesting, so this ends up being tempo, okay? So this is another fast tempo play. So it is no huddle, lined up, call it and haul it. So this was all part of this script. And you talked about it, man, that the opening script of this game was going to be so important. And so when the Broncos hit on their opening script, I'm like, oh, Rob's got to be not feeling great about it. But I think you were probably talking a little bit more about Josh Allen and the offensive script and how they can kind of stay on schedule that way. Am I right in saying that?
Important. I thought it was important for both sides. Like I mentioned, if you have the ball first and you're the Broncos, you don't want to give that ball up without putting points on the board. I think the Broncos script was important as well, and I'm impressed. Even if this is a tempo off the script, I mean this is still an impressive.
Well, and with that, like the thing that's pretty cool about when you get to a tempo concept, and a lot of times tempo concepts, as in the pass game, if it's a drop back or a quick play action, this is just drop back, man. And so you're in 2x2 condensed set. So you have, I believe you're in 12 personnel. Actually, you're in 11 personnel. Marvin Mims he's chipping a defensive end. I got to see who does a pretty nice job. And then a Lucas Kroll on the other side. So you have double chip presence between Kroll and Mims. And really all this is like one of those, you go to a 7-on-7 passing tournament anywhere in the country, and you would see a dig concept out on the field side or the wide side here run by Courtland Sutton, and then a deep post here run by Troy Franklin. And, I saw this, and this was a great example of you telling me something about McDermott. He loves messing with rookie quarterbacks' eyes with disguise, right? He did too much here because this is supposed to be a two high structure defense. They wanted to show a single high structure. All right. And for whatever reason, Bo Nix reads, and I think that's DeMar right there. No, is DeMar the down safety or is that?
No, DeMar that's Rap. That's the down safety.
Okay. So can't tell. That's gotta be Hamlin, right?
That might be Hamlin. It could be Cole Bishop. I'm not
Rick
sure.
Happened. Okay, hold on a sec. I do not want to lose that play. Going. It just jumped. I hope it didn't do it.
Well, and they were talking about how that was a miscommunication between Douglas and Rapp, who's your down safety.
Yeah. Okay, let me make sure I get to this, buddy. Come on.
So this is the play before.
Yeah, just
a run from Javonte.
Sorry.
All good.
All right. Boom. Okay. Should work.
So you think this is him doing too much trying to confuse Bo Nix here?
Yeah, and or maybe the safeties taking too many liberties with the disguise to actually where the frick they should have gotten to, because this post should have been eaten up right here with depth by this safety. And you can tell he's kind of he's slow pedaling because he held his single high coverage. But my goodness, what incredible recognition by Bo Nix to realize that this opposite safety to the field, which is Tyler, it's Rapp, right? For the old Washington Husky product. Is that right?
Taylor Rapp is your safety on the bottom part of the field.
Oh, yeah.
Hamlin is switching and coming down on that dig, it looks like.
Yeah, I don't know why this it does not want to show the touchdown.
Does NFL Pro cut it off? How about that?
Yeah, it did. It cut it off on both angles.
So that's Hamlin down in the box there. I mean, well, not in the box. He's getting all the way down into that box area.
Yeah, both angles it cuts off the actual catch, which is really interesting.
That's okay. We know what it looks like. A Bills fan must have been the one that was cutting up the film there.
or maybe NFL pros tired of people filming all their content and reproducing.
No, they tell you can. I looked
That's
it
what I
up before
thought.
we
That's
started
what I
doing this. Good recognition.
Oh, hey, I wanted to get to something. Sorry. Okay, so I showed you essentially a series of 5 plays, right? So I thought this was really interesting, and it goes to glazing the defense that you're a fan of. Okay, so we watched 2 plays. We broke down 3 plays, excuse me, but really it was a 5-play drive. Okay, so when we're talking about the Bills defense and making adjustments, but then conversely, we're talking about the Broncos offense led by offensive guru Sean Payton and his adjustments or lack thereof. So after that first drive, which was a total of 2 minutes and 24 seconds, Rob, there's 57 minutes and 36 seconds remaining to play in this contest. The Broncos scored 0 points. We're one of the next 8 converting on a third down, converted 1 third down. The remaining 57-36 had 82 yards passing from Bo Nix in the remainder of this game, 57 minutes and 36 seconds remaining, 25 yards rushing from actual running backs in the remainder of the game.
Yeah, because I was going to say the most effective play that you had was late in the half trying to get Lutz into field goal range. It was Bo
taking off and scrambling. Yep.
Yeah.
It was called pass plays.
And so, that's kind of what I meant when I said I'm interested in what your take is as to what can get this to the next level. Now, if you're talking about, there were a couple drops. I don't think the wide receivers were terrible.
4 drops.
They did not help him. You know what I mean? They did not help
him.
No,
it wasn't good.
But, we've talked about, there's been a lot of talk about the Penn State tight end. Do you need to add a tight end to this offense? There's been talk about Ashton Jeanty. Do you need a true number 1 running back? Can you go get a guy like that? I think there should still be a little bit of talk about that beloved joker role that coach likes to use, because even though Marvin Mims has evolved into it a little bit, I don't think he's a full-on what Sean Payton wants in that role. So, Coach, to you,
who are the guys that we've identified as jokers in Sean Payton's historical successful past? Is it Alvin Kamara?
I would say Alvin Kamara.
Wasn't he just the starting tailback though? In reality,
no, because they had Ingram too.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Different era.
And when it came to just running straight run calls, it was Ingram who you would run up into the middle a lot of the time, and Kamara would more float around and be the pass catching guy.
And then Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill's a good example. Darren Sproles, way back, his early days in New Orleans. You know what I mean? That kind of just gadget player, for lack of a better term. And so, I don't know, maybe that's more of a luxury when we're talking about a true every down running back, right? Or a tight end that can both block and catch the ball. But
I think if you had
what do you need?
Would you agree with me that if you did have a bell cow tailback that Sean Payton believed in, because we've learned that matters. Sean Payton believing in an important piece of the personnel is going to really matter, because he didn't believe in Russell Wilson, and rightfully so. But he didn't believe in him. But he certainly believed in Bo Nix for the majority of the season, and insofar as to actually call an exorbitant amount of pass plays down the stretch in games where you probably could have ran the ball and won the game, maybe with a little bit more balance. So I think if you get like, say, an Ashton Jeanty, the running back position for me is extremely important, because if you do get a true trusted, highly invested in player at the running back position, I'm praying it's my alma mater's own Ashton Jeanty, then you feel like you can really free up guys like Marvin Mims and Jaleel McLaughlin to be more jokers, because you don't need to you're not trying to replicate, or I guess you'd say manufacture, base runs with guys like those types of players. I don't know.
Are
Thought.
you confident? Are you fully confident in the offensive line?
Oh,
As I went through,
fully confident.
as I went through watching that game, there were some times. I mean, even Quentin Miners had moments where I was like, you can't get beat like that. You know what I mean? And so you paid him a lot of money. And so this should be your group going forward. But there
Fully
are outs
confident.
in those contracts. But you sound like you're fully confident no matter what.
Fully confident. I just don't know right now what the run scheme is that Sean Payton and the offensive staff want to employ. It feels. Would you agree that the utilization of personnel in the run game was very grab baggy the entire year?
I don't think there was a real theme to it. I agree with that.
So the personnel was very lack of theme. Well, if you go through and break down the actual run schemes that they run, dude, it's everything under the sun and really not a lot of identity in terms of who are you? Are you a wide zone team? You do a little bit of it. Are you a duo team? You do a little bit of it. You a counter team, run a little bit of it. Power team, run a little bit. You pin and pull, running essentially like buck sweep. Run some of it. You a toss team. Yep, do a little bit of it. And you were a jack of all trades, master of none. And with what I would say a very limited amount of creativity in the run game.
So what would you say this?
You got to help your guys up front.
Yeah, for sure. So
what's
their strength though? What would you run? What would you highlight? What would you feature with this offensive line? Because it's probably not going to change.
Exactly what I saw the Buffalo Bills running. And I know you believe that how big that offensive line is. The Broncos have a very large offensive line as well.
Yeah.
Ben Powers is a thick guard. Mike McGlinchey is a humongous. He's a 6'9", 338-pound tackle. Garrett Bowles is thick. He might be a little bit more athletic, but he's thick. And then certainly Quinn Miners is known for his girth. You have guys that are thick. Run gap schemes, run power, run counter, run duo. Use Quinn Bailey and or Alex Palczewski as a sixth offensive lineman and have that identity. And then run the play actions and even max protections off of 6, even maybe 7 offensive line personnel groupings.
And I think Audric Estime is a great fit with that too, getting downhill a little bit, don't you?
That's what I thought. That's what I envisioned, and it just never came to fruition. So
well,
I don't know.
It's interesting to see if they'll commit to that next year. I think there's no doubt that they need more weapons, and playmakers, but if you can put a tight end on the field where you're not giving away if you're passing or you're rushing, and you can still have a legitimate threat for both on the field, I do think that's maybe the best option going into the draft, even if a guy like Ashton Jeanty is there.
Right.
That kind of dual threat tight end really can change an offense.
You can find really good value at the tight end position in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. You can, if you're willing to invest. And if I were to have my we'll call it perfect scenario for the Broncos as it relates to acquiring personnel in this draft, I actually do really like the running back position in this draft class so far from what I've seen. And I like the tight end pool of talent as well. I really do. And I don't think it's just top heavy. I mean, Tyler Warren is a freak. Colston Loveland from Michigan is a freak. And then I love the Ferguson kid from Oregon. Terrence Ferguson. He's a local product. He grew up here in Colorado. He went to one of the Heritage or one of the, I don't know. I'm getting it wrong, but he went to one of those high schools that's named after, they all sound they have new names in new areas that all sound the same kind of. But good player. I mean, Harold Fannin from Bowling Green, a dynamic pass catching tight end. I would love this. I would love a bell cow back taken in the 1st round and then 2 tight ends taken between round 2 and 4. That's what I think needs to happen.
So let's piss off the offensive coach. What about somebody on the defensive side of the ball, coach?
Here's what you're seeing, though. Here's what you're seeing. I mean, the defense, Alex Singleton's going to be like getting a draft pick back when he's healthy. He's going to be back. So you're getting reserves by way of Alex Singleton. So linebacker was a spot that I thought. Interior defensive lineman is another one I think that needs to be addressed. The reality is right now the market is so heavy in terms of free agent value and the market being for high dollar for like tight ends. Tight ends are almost impossible to get in that market. Dude, linebackers and interior defensive linemen they're growing trees right now in the free agent market. They do.
You know what doesn't is cornerback. And I think Riley Moss played well. I'm surprised by it too, and I can tell you're surprised based on your face. But I heard a lot of people towards the end of the season upset with Riley Moss.
He was hurt, man. I was at the game. He tore his MCL.
Yeah.
He tore his freaking MCL. I was at the game. He tore his MCL. Like, you don't come back in a high impact position where you're cutting every single play. You don't come back from that great at the end of the season with mere games to play. Chris Abrams-Draine showed plenty that he's capable of being a good, sixth defensive back ready to play at any time. Riley Moss is more than okay. I mean, he played 13 games against really good talent. I mean, he played against good players. I thought he played good against
excellent before he got hurt.
How did he play against the Bills? You watched the game. Did you think he played bad against the Bills?
They weren't able to capitalize on him, I don't think.
He had one bad play. Okay, he had one really bad play. And it was more of a really good scheme job by Joe Brady. And it was one of the first long runs where a bunch set and you ran duo. And I think I'm pretty sure it was your starting back. It was James
Cook.
James Cook. You remember that one where he like jump cuts outside of the bunch and Riley Moss is just like, there's so much space. He was just just way late to the run fit. That was probably the worst. That was the worst play. I mean, I think ultimately Riley Moss ended up getting him onto the ground, but it was like a 18-yard gain or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I thought he's been fantastic. I couldn't believe it when I started seeing Broncos country say that on Twitter, that they were after Riley Moss a little bit, but just wanted to throw it out there because that is a high value spot. And where you're going to be drafting around 20, you could end up with a first cornerback off the board there, possibly. So, it fits value wise. I don't think it's necessary, especially with the other holes you have to fill. So,
yeah, I mean, I think safety's got to be addressed a little bit. I feel like the Broncos safeties are small. Like, they're smaller, less rangy. They're shorter. Man, I think there was a time in this game that I like a lot of the push to pile that happened in that game, which was as an offensive football coach that loves run game and offensive line and strong cultures. Your Buffalo Bills as a push to pile team, they were phenomenal. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. But you could see that there was not an enforcer coming up from the safety position that just stopped the run. You know what I mean?
And Jones is physical, but he's just not. It's not that.
They're little, man. Like I was watching PJ Locke. PJ Locke's like kind of sawed off and thick, and then Brandon Jones is physical and willing, but small. He's small. And like they walk by me in training camp every day. I'm like, gosh, that's a small tandem of NFL starting safeties. Like, that is not what you envision when you think about NFL starters.
Yeah, we don't want coach looking down at them. That's not how we.
Well, I mean, I'm 6'4", so it should. There are very few safeties that I'm looking up at. That's for sure. But they just look tiny.
So then, just last thoughts, Coach. I mean, really, at the end of it, you followed this team all year. You put your heart and soul into it. Your boys bought Bo Nix jerseys. At the end of the day, how did you feel as a Bronco fan? Was there an immediate sense of, hey, man, this was house money? Or were you a little bit down on the performance that they had in the playoffs against the caliber of team they're going to have to beat if they want to really make some noise here the next couple of years?
Well, Rob, I first have to start by just giving a lot of credit to the Buffalo Bills. They were awesome. They're well coached. They had a great plan. Josh Allen managed the game brilliantly. He was fantastic. And actually, Josh Allen, I've come away with more respect of Josh Allen, the quarterback, probably less because of maybe like the wow plays that you kind of fall in love with Josh Allen because of the wow plays, but then you stay for what he's turning into a very mature, smart football player. He's avoiding the bad play, right? So I tip the cap to the Buffalo Bills across the board. They were well coached and frankly better. I do look at it as a wasted opportunity, though. Josh, just called you Josh, Rob. I do look at it as a wasted opportunity because it was 13-7. You had the ball multiple times in the second half with the opportunity to go down and drive, and you go 3 and out twice. in the third quarter, and you essentially just end your own chances to make this thing a contest. You didn't have your best stuff as a play caller. That beat Sean Payton. Bo Nix didn't have his best in that moment. I don't know if he was set up the best when you get run, and then third and long in back-to-back drives to set up what are the most important drives of the game. I don't think that always is great for a rookie quarterback or any quarterback for that matter. Wasn't great. I just think that ultimately the Bills were a better team, clearly further along in many different ways. But even with all that being said, the Broncos were right there with 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go in the third quarter. You're down by 6 points,
Not even a full touchdown.
I
And
know.
credit to the Broncos defense. I mean, we were kept getting into the red zone, into the low red. And I said to my friends, I want to score from the 30 because they cannot get in the end zone on this Bronco defense when they're in that low red zone. I mean, I really was impressed with them. You were right there, 6 points away. And you definitely put some fear in me. So
yeah, and then I've had more thoughts on Bo Nix as a rookie, and I had my very strong opinions about Bo Nix and what I believed was going to be a very mature, very NFL ready body, NFL ready mindset. But was it going to be the plus side of entering in the conversation of the best in the National Football League, like Jaden Daniels already has, I think, in his rookie year. And I think that what we've seen is a good thing. It's that he came into the National Football League with an insanely high floor, as high of a floor as you can have, meaning that he was ready to play. He was ready to be an NFL starter. He's 24 years old, 61 starts. He was ready. And he's got awesome wiring, and he's athletic, and he's tough, and he's got a good body type. I still don't know, man. I still don't know if he's got what it takes to take this franchise to where it wants to go, which is to win Super Bowls. And that's the standard with this franchise, because you've done it with John Elway. You've knocked on the door with Plummer at times, and that probably might be the discussion that we look at with Bo Nix long term. Is it more of a Plummer era? And then, of course, you did with Peyton Manning at the tail end of his career. And so how can you best optimize what you have in Bo Nix? Man, you build a bully in the ground game, and then you have him really good off play actions, and you build on what is a good defense. And I think you can win a Super Bowl with him. I just don't know if you're going to be able to do it in the same way you did it maybe with Drew Brees. I don't know if he has that like plus level of insane, like I can outduel a quarterback in the National Football League and win games, because we haven't seen it yet.
So that's the big picture. Let's focus it down into next year just real quick. How do you stop him from having a sophomore slump, which is common? When quarterbacks are in the league, they get figured out a little bit. And, even CJ Stroud this year struggled at times. Doesn't matter how good your rookie year is. A lot of quarterbacks slide back in that second year before really launching in their third. How, as a coach, do you set yourself up to make sure that doesn't happen?
I think that you prevented the sophomore slump by drafting Bo Nix, period, by taking on the personality of Bo Nix, because he is such a quarterback savant. He loves the position. He loves football. He's the son of a coach. He's not going to spend his offseason down in Cancun chasing around things. He's married. He's mature. He's going to be having a family. He's going to live at the facility. He's going to get completely healthy. He's going to jump back into training with his quarterback country guys. This dude loves football, man. So I don't see any of the maturity issues that oftentimes lead a little bit to a sophomore slump. I think that Sean Payton and this franchise can certainly assist him not having any form of tail off in terms of production by building a better run game, committing to the run game, and then putting better skill players around him that can do something, be it a running back position, tight end. I'm not far away on the wide receiver position. I'm not. I actually think Bo Nix growing with this group is probably better than going out and bringing some type of potential headache in like Tyreek Hill or Devontae Adams or something like that. I just don't think that's the solution.
Brown reading on the sideline.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's the solution for this crew.
Yeah.
So I don't think there'll be a sophomore slump, but I also don't know, like, and Rob, you know, help me out here. Where are we going to see, what areas of Bo's game are we going to see growth?
I think there's a consistency problem.
Okay.
And I know you think he's been real mature, but you know, the game that's ringing in my head is the Chargers. And I think he didn't, again, like you said, maybe not helped out by the play calling there,
Right,
when they were so heavy on the run game to start with. And it allowed him to hit a couple passes, throw some touchdowns, look great in the first half. Where does that disappear to in the second half? It can't just completely go away. Even if your play calls aren't great, you can't have nothing there. And that's, I think, the consistency is something that you tell every young NFL player. That's what we need you to get better at, is be more consistent, you know?
Do you think that there isn't, this is what I believe, and this could be where his growth comes from. I don't feel like Bo, with the full catalog of throws required in the National Football League, I don't know that Bo himself has the utmost confidence in himself. And as a result of it, you see some red line, meaning max effort throws from bad throwing platforms. And, you know, almost get to that point where, you know, you're a sharpshooter that's squinting when you pull the trigger, because you're trying to hit your target so hard. Right. I think there's a little bit of that. I think there's some apprehension at times to make some of those throws. And at times there's it's compensated by your probably over belief and over trust in your scrambling abilities to take off and run. I think that's going to be the Achilles heel of this player is, do you have the consistent full arsenal of arm talent for all the throws? And do you have that same level of belief in yourself to make those throws?
So we need to turn Bo into a Bo Lever, is what you're saying, Coach.
Well, and I think it just go, you know, screw me. But I saw it at the combine. I saw it at Senior Bowl. The effortless big arm throws that you see from Josh Allen when you watch him play. I don't know if that's in the golf. I don't think it's in the golf bag. I just don't.
I mean, there's 2 or 3 guys on the planet that can do that, Coach. You know?
I disagree. Matt Stafford did it last night. Jared Goff does it he makes a lot of throws effortlessly. Jordan Love does it.
And you think he's a slot below even somebody like Jared Goff?
Oh yes. Oh, Jared Goff, don't get it twisted. That is one of the insane throwers of the football. I evaluated him at Stanford. His dream school is Stanford. Unfortunately, we had taken another quarterback named Andrew Luck in a class before, so we couldn't stack him. But Jared Goff is one of the better pure throwers of football I've ever been around. I mean, it is effortless, as beautiful as it gets. And he layers throws just brilliantly. He's like a savant of throwing the football.
But isn't that what Bo should be able to do? Layer throws. I mean, that should be something that he can do. Because these red line throws that you're talking about, these maximum effort throws, to me, I don't know. I mean, you saw him down the field hit it when he needs to hit it.
Yeah, that's a different quality, thing though, right?
I know.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is he's got the arm strength for it.
But that's with a full max effort output. Closing your eyes, freaking like you're dang near crapping yourself as you're throwing the football. And some of those.
As you're bringing it down and trying to layer it, though, Coach, you can tone down how hard you're throwing it, right? And
there is some of that. There is some of that. He does that already. I think there's some of it. It's just, dude, it just seems so. Man, it just seems like it's just not. None of it's easy. It looks all of it looks like it's a lot of effort.
Running uphill for him.
It's as just purely as a passer. And I think he's such a special talent as a human and as an athlete that he finds a way to make it work. But is finding a way to make it work enough for what this franchise wants to do?
Wow, coach. I mean, we could spend another hour talking about this.
I know.
Because this is deep thoughts with Mike Sanford for sure. But it's interesting. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the offseason. We will keep doing the film room from time to time. I hope.
And just so we're on the same page, man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, all good.
This is, it's kind of a depressing end of what was a really fun show. But man, I've been tracking a lot of these things, and the Bo Leavers, and unfortunately the Denver, Colorado sports market has really fallen victim to. Everybody wants to do the receipts, like you weren't a Bo Leaver, therefore you should never be able to talk about anything ever again. Or I was a Bo Leaver from the beginning. Look at me, hear me roar. And then if you find yourself on either side of that when you started, then you spend the entire rest of your time proving to the other camp that they're wrong. And it's bad media. It's lazy media. Frankly, I'm tired of it. But I have been watching the film, right, on a weekly basis, and I have been keeping track of all of the analytics that are measuring quarterbacks in the National Football League. And so when I'm talking about some of the stuff that concerns me about not Bo Nix, the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos, not Bo Nix, the guy that can lead you to the playoffs, but Bo Nix, who is going into a franchise that has Super Bowl winning quarterbacks as a standard. Like, that is a standard. Your Bills don't have a Super Bowl winning quarterback as a standard. You guys are dealing with house money with Josh Allen right now, to a certain degree. I mean, this is the best it's ever been. It's better than Jim Kelly. I grew up during Jim Kelly. This is better football than Jim Kelly. He's doing things that Jim Kelly didn't do. I mean, he is in truly the best conversation. But with Bo Nix right now, man, it's the CPOE, which is completion percentage over expected. He's in the bottom 15 in the NFL. And he has in the top 3 of separation average per target. That means that he had the top 3 most open looks to throw the football. And then he also has his deep pass percentages. And like, the analytics don't like Bo Nix. The passing analytics do not like Bo Nix. And I like Bo Nix, but I also saw some things at the combine, saw some things at the Senior Bowl, and have continued to see some things on game film that the analytics do speak to. And that's my question for where Bo Nix can go.
And I think it's a fair thing to ask, but so often it's, the end of the story is written at the beginning. And so, like, with a guy like Bo Nix, if you see something, you believe it forever. What I like about you, coach, is that you're open to it being different. You're saying, I watch the film every week. I can show you what I'm talking about. And that doesn't mean that Bo can't get better at certain things. You wonder if he's got the physical ability to allow that to happen. But, I think as time goes by, as Sean, because we know Sean loves him.
Yep.
The question is, how much did Sean trust him this year? And I don't know. I mean, there were a lot of times where I thought he was not helping him out with his play calling in terms of just kind of letting him go. You know what I mean? Even
Right.
some of the shots he hit, Sean Payton on that Mims shot in the Monday night game, he's like, I shouldn't have called that deep shot for him. You know what I mean? So taking the reins off a little bit and calling plays, and even if you think he might have trouble converting them, how much does he trust him to do that over these next couple of years, where Bo's really going to prove if he belongs in this league or not? I think it'll be interesting. So
I do too. You paid a lot of money for an offensive line that are all big, bruising dudes. That's what as much effort and attention went into Sean Payton building Bo Nix and proving to the league that Bo Nix is a worthy NFL starting quarterback. To me, that's what you spent 2024 on. Check. Well done. Did a good job, Sean. Okay, now do the same thing with proving that you can draft and develop the offensive run game to then complement your now second-year quarterback. And then I think you're going to be onto something. If that doesn't happen, I actually think the Broncos will regress as a football team.
And that's what the good AFC teams have done.
Yep.
Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. It's not just drafting talent. It's developing that talent and playing to their strengths a little
100%.
bit. So
Yep.
Broncos are going to have to do that if they want to compete in this version of the AFC. So
It's a murderer's row, brother.
yeah. All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time. Like I said, we will continue to do altitude film rooms. Hopefully we'll get some college tape in there. Maybe we do some Super Bowl breakdown, what have you. But Coach and I will be back to talk Broncos football and what it means as we get into the offseason. You know, Coach is going to try to head out to a Senior Bowl.
I'm trying, man.
A
trying.
draft, a combine, whatever he can get out to. So he'll be back with insights with that kind of stuff for us as well. You can find us on all the social medias. You see Coach and my stuff there. Feel free to give us a like, subscribe, and follow so you see every time that happens. Coach, anything else you want to say? You want to end it with a little positive, a little love, and a little congratulations to the Broncos for doubling what any of us thought they would do in terms of wins?
Yeah, no, it was a fun year, man. It was a lot of fun. I think the disappointment for me is because of how great a year it was. Because I think you get built up for it. In a playoff game, first one in forever, you want to see it come to fruition. You want to see it last.
Right
and frankly, I just didn't want it to end. So that's part of my disappointment. But on to next year and on to hopefully finding a big time running back and maybe a tight end or two. And I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Sounds good. All right, Coach. Thanks for your time. Appreciate everybody for having us on. Well, you had the Avs or Nuggets on. We got our Avs colors on. We were prepared for this.
Matching-ish.
We appreciate everybody for having us on the second screen while you watch the games, and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.